Mr. Santoro, would you please give us your full name and DOC number?
Sebastian Santoro, 556583.
Mr. Santoro, let me explain our process to you. This is a parole revocation hearing. We're going to cover your parole revocation questionnaire. Do you have that with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then I'm going to read to you the allegations of how it's alleged you violated your parole. I'll ask you at that point to plead either guilty, not guilty, or guilty with a statement. Then we'll have a full discussion of the allegations. You do have some people here who wish to speak. Edith Granger, who is your girlfriend, wishes to speak in your behalf. And we also have in opposition Ms. Jennifer Artigo, who is with parole and probation and parole, who wishes to speak. Do you understand our process?
Yes, sir.
Would you please take a look at your parole revocation questionnaire?
Okay.
Is that your signature at the bottom, dated September the 26th of 2023?
Yes, sir, it is.
When you fill that out, were all of these check marks that you filled out accurate and correct?
Yes, sir.
Are they still accurate and correct today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you ready to proceed with your hearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to read you the allegations. Number 4, count 1. On or about May 22nd of 2023, you failed to refrain from criminal activity by committing the offenses of possession of marijuana, possession of methamphetamine. On May the 22nd of 2023, you were drug screened, at which time you tested positive for the illegal drugs, methamphetamine and THC. On May the 22nd of 2023, you also voluntarily admitted to having used the illegal drugs, methamphetamine and THC on or about May 22nd of 2023. How do you plead to that allegation?
I plead guilty, sir, with a statement.
All right. Number 4, count 2. On or about June the 6th of 2023, you failed to refrain from criminal activity by committing the offenses of possession of marijuana and possession of methamphetamine. On June the 6th of 2023, you were drug screened, at which time you tested positive for the illegal drugs, methamphetamine and THC. On June the 6th of 2023, you also voluntarily admitted to having used the illegal drugs, methamphetamine and THC. How do you plead to that allegation?
Guilty with a statement, sir.
Right. Also, number 4, count 3. On or about July 8th of 2023, you failed to refrain from criminal activity by committing the offenses of reckless operation of a motor vehicle, flight from an officer, resisting an officer, speeding, and on September the 5th of 2023, you pled guilty to resisting an officer, and you were sentenced to serve 6 months parish jail with 3 months suspended and 6 months supervised probation. How do you plead to that allegation?
I plead guilty, sir, with a statement.
All right. And number 6, since you were released from DOC long-term substance abuse program on March 31st of 2023, you have not provided any proof of employment. How do you plead to that allegation?
Guilty, sir, with a statement.
And number 10, since you were released from DOC long-term substance abuse program on March 31st of 2023, you have not made any payments towards your parole supervision. You have also never made any payments to your parole supervisor since your release on parole supervision on October the 30th of 2021. And as of September the 11th of 2023, you are currently in arrears of $1,323. How do you plead to that allegation?
Guilty, sir, with a statement.
Number 13, I'm sorry, special conditions. On May 22nd of 2023, you signed and accepted the administrative sanctions action, a curfew from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. On count 1, you failed to abide by your curfew hours when a curfew check was performed at your listed residence on July the 7th of 2023. At 5:45 a.m. and you were not at your listed residence during the curfew time. How do you plead to that allegation?
I plead guilty with a statement, sir.
Okay. And on count 2, you failed to abide by your curfew hours on July the 7th of 2023, as evident by the affidavit for arrest warrant submitted by the Evangeline Parish Sheriff's Office, which indicates initial contact was 11:23 at a location that was not your listed address. How do you plead to that allegation?
Guilty, sir, with a statement.
Mr. Santori, your case has been assigned to me, so I'll begin our interview process. You've pled guilty with a statement to count 1. On May the 22nd of 2023, you tested positive for drugs. You were still doing drugs. So give me your statement.
Yes, sir. I did it. I wanted to give a statement because it says I was in possession. I did on two occasions have 2 dirty drug screens. Well, I was also in the process of maybe trying, because I've never owned a state ID or a driver's license in my life. I'm 33 years old. I think the paperwork has been sent to y'all, or should have been emailed to y'all, and well, I was really trying to get myself maybe into a rehab until I got my ID or something like that, and I never did get a chance to do it, because right before I got arrested, Miss Artigo went on a leave. It might have been a training or something. I don't know exactly what it was, but we was in the process of doing those things. But by the time she came back from her leave, which was in July, that's how I didn't see her in July, because she was on a leave and I got arrested. So like, I was trying to get into a rehab, but I never did have a chance to do it, and I mean, that's really why I wanted to, I pled guilty with a statement, because I was dirty, I admitted to it, and we was in the process of going to a drug program until I obtained my driver's license or state ID, because I have jobs waiting on me. I just go straight back home to the streets every time. I never have
Let me ask you this. When did you parole out?
I paroled out on March 31st of this year.
All right. And you paroled out from what program were you in?
From Stephen Hall program.
The very best program that the Department of Corrections has to offer. You completed the entire program?
Yes, sir. I sure did.
You came back out and went back to using drugs?
Yes, sir. And
didn't they give you recommendations? Didn't they tell you what to do? Didn't they tell you to go to AA meetings? Didn't they tell you to do all of those things?
Yes, sir. My biggest thing though, every time I go home, I have jobs waiting on me. I'm a welder. I'm a carpenter by trade. I'm a welder by trade. I have a horticulture trade. I just cannot obtain a job. I'm just stuck out there because DOC knows who I am. But every time I go home, I am never able to get a state ID or a driver's license to be able to get a job. That's why my parole fees are not paid up. That's why I've never been able to prove that I had employment, is because I've never been given the opportunity to get a state ID or a driver's license. My paperwork should be there with y'all right now. It should have got faxed or emailed to you. I actually have the paperwork right now to be able to.
Let me ask you this. Why did you violate your curfew?
Well, sir,
what's that got to do with an ID card and not getting
I can't lie to you, sir. I was out after the curfew. It's, my transportation thing is kind of hard. I've never had a driver's license, never had an ID. I don't have any transportation. I come home to no job, and then when I go, say I do go to a job, which was that was the case. I do a little roofing here and there, and I mean, it's not a steady job, but I get, it's like side jobs. And yes, I did get caught, and I have no excuse for that, for being out, but it's hard to get from one spot to another whenever you only have your mother's transportation. My mom works 2-3 times a week. So if I go on a job and I'm on the way back home, sometimes I get back a little later than possible. It's hard to keep work. And
let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
How much does it cost to go to an AA meeting?
I don't believe it costs anything, sir.
Right. And they got AA meetings everywhere. Why didn't you go to AA meetings as soon as you got out of prison, after having gone through 6 or 9 months treatment at Steve Hall? Why
Because
did you go to all of your AA meetings?
I never was told that I had to report to AA meetings. I was just told that if I needed help to talk to my parole officer, and that was the case. I did. That was the only person that I was in contact with. Was
You
my
it was never suggested to you by Steve Hoyle that you should follow up with AA meetings and support and things
Oh,
like
yes, sir. Yes, sir. If I was in trouble, they said that I could follow up in meetings.
trouble. You tested positive 3 months in a row.
Well, sir, it was 2 times, and I was in the process of getting treatment. Me and my parole officer, Miss Jennifer Artigo, was in the process of doing it. She went on a leave, and for like 2 weeks.
No, she'll tell us what happened.
Right, and she went on a leave for like 2 weeks, sir, and that was the case because we were in the process. I had to actually go through Miss Jennifer to get a medical card because I didn't have Medicaid or anything, you know, and I had just got my medical card. I had just got everything to go through with all of my stuff. See, what I was going to do is I was going to go to rehab and wait for my paperwork to come in so I'll be able to get my ID, which because I'm waiting on, I have jobs. I can go to work as soon as I get an ID. But that was the plan. I was going to go back to a rehab, you know, a 28-day rehab. I had an acceptance letter from a program in Lacassine that I was trying to get into.
Tell me about what happened on July the 8th of 2023 with the resisting the office. Tell me about that.
Well,
how that resulted in your not having the fact that you didn't have an ID. How did that cause all of that problem?
Well, that not having an ID didn't cause that problem.
Right.
I was on my way home, and I really did not know. I know I got the resistant officer. You know, it was more like nobody got hit. Nobody was hurt.
You riding? What were you driving?
I was on a motorcycle.
Whose motorcycle?
It was actually a friend's motorcycle. It was a form of transportation for me at that time. I was actually on a back road on my way home. I never crossed any traffic. I didn't even know that the cop was behind me until I got to Millers Lake Road. You know, I never did see him. He said his lights wasn't on, and the resistant officer came in. I mean, nobody was hit, nobody was hurt. Whenever I was trying to explain to him what was going on, the only thing I was trying to tell him is I did not have a driver's license and I didn't see him behind me, you know, and I mean, nobody was hurt. I kind of like tried to pull away from him one time, and that's how I got the resistant officer.
You were able to get transportation on that particular day, borrowed somebody's motorcycle. How come you didn't use that motorcycle or cars or a bus or walk to get an ID card or comply with any other conditions? Go to AA meetings.
I'm gonna
any of that.
Well, because I'm gonna tell you, my ID card is way more complicated than what you're probably thinking right now. On my birth certificate, I had my mom's last name. When I was born, my birth certificate had my mom's last name. On my social security card,
Mr. Santoro, let me stop you just for a second. I'm gonna talk to you. Your girlfriend, she can say whatever she wants, and we're going to hear from the
yes, sir.
parole officer. Let me just tell you something. For 14 years, I was a judge. I ran a drug court. And you sound just like everybody that ever came before me with every excuse in the world. It's always this fault. It's my ID card. That's why I'm doing all these drugs. You know, I went to one of the best programs in the country. I come right back out and I start going back to using drugs. Because, you know, my parole officer was supposed to do all this help for me. I know damn well that's not true. I know what Steve Halls tells you to do when you get out of that program. I'm thoroughly familiar with that program, and you didn't do it. Now, what you got to say about that?
Sir, I didn't. You're right. I didn't follow up with AA meetings. I didn't know that I had to do that.
Okay.
I don't even know where they have.
I'll give you an opportunity to close in just a few moments. Let's hear from Ms. Granger. Is Ms. Edith Granger online?
Hello, you don't mind.
Ms. Granger, can you hear us? Are you Ms. Granger? You're on mute, ma'am.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. If you'll introduce yourself and tell us what you'd like us to know.
My name's Edith Granger. I'm Sebastian Santoro's girlfriend. I just want to tell y'all, I think he does need another chance as far as the ID thing goes. It is a lot more complicated. He doesn't have a birth certificate. He's never had one. If you go look in vital records from Louisiana, he was never issued one.
Let me stop you, Ms. Granger. He is not charged with not having an ID.
No, I know that. I know
He's
that.
charged
I know
with
that.
Continuing to use drugs, involved
I know
in
that.
activity, and not reporting when he's, that's what he's charged with. So address that for us.
Okay. Well, before when he's came home, he's never really had nowhere to come home to. He does now. When he comes home, he will go to work. I have him a job until he can get an ID with my father-in-law.
How long have you?
Right, my stepfather.
How long have you and he been together?
We've been together for 6 months.
So y'all were together when he first got out?
No, sir.
No.
Yeah, Tim.
Okay, okay, got it. All right, okay. But y'all were together when he was using drugs?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead.
He has a family support system now. He wasn't using when he got arrested. He was trying to be clean. I'm trying to help him in every way that I can. I mean, he really didn't have a family and a support system to help him before. And I mean, that you know just as well as I do that that's a very big part of recovery for an addict.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. Ms. Artigo?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
All right. Whenever I accepted, I first began his supervision whenever he was released on his second chance from the parole board on March 31st. Whenever he completed the in lieu of revocation long-term treatment, that's when I first had supervision of him. He was assigned to a different agent before that. I know his most current violations that we're speaking about today might have started with substance abuse treatment that we were trying to address in inpatient. He did not have an ID. However, I did get an inpatient place to waive his ID with my stating he is who he was. And they did apply for Medicaid. His Medicaid came back. However, it had a flag. Instead of full Medicaid, they gave him partial. And the treatment facility, it was an inpatient, stated it would take a couple days to figure out what the partial was about and what all it would cover. Therefore, in that time, that's why I put him on a curfew. So he wouldn't have a chance to ruin the opportunity in front of him. And he intentionally neglected that curfew. And not only did his violations go from violations that majorly affected only him by the use of substance abuse. I know it affects family members, but it mainly affects the individual using. He decided on that day to now commit violations that could negatively affect innocent people. There might have not been anybody on their streets, but there could have been. His neglect for the road signs. At one point, he reached speeds of 84 miles per hour in a 55. He, according to the police report, turned around directly, looked at the officer, then accelerated, slowed down, accelerated, slowed down, and accelerated. He intentionally put the risk of innocent people at his fingertips. He didn't only not care about him, he made the decision not to care about anybody else. Whether it was due to being under the influence at that time or not, his violations at that point changed and made him a threat to public safety. After his bike was stopped, not only did he continue to put others at public safety, he did not listen to the officers. He was only able to be placed in handcuffs by the officers deploying a taser to gain control of him. His actions threaten law enforcement and the public. However, it might have began because substance abuse. However, all the branches that were reached out to him for him to obtain treatment and curb this drug abuse habit that he has, he didn't take full advantage of it. He didn't utilize all the tools and techniques that he received from Steve Hoyle. He did not abide by the recommendations of Mia. Stay inside your house. There was an incident that wasn't listed. However, he was found him at his residence with another female on supervision. Drugs were found. She took the charge. It was the morning he was supposed to go to the evaluation for treatment. Instead of citing him for a misdemeanor possession of marijuana, which was in his pocket, me and the responding officer, we submitted a report to destroy the evidence because I didn't want to risk him being in a program and having an appointment or court. So with all these breaks he got, he still didn't respect the chance that everybody was giving him by staying in his residence. And now he's wanting us to overlook the charges. They might have gotten pled down. However, he intentionally disregarded. So at this time, my recommendation is revocation. However, I do request that y'all, as the parole board, recommend him to be referred to the Lafayette Parish Reentry Program for evaluation to attend there with, if he's accepted into the program, the focus while in the program is for him to obtain a birth certificate, a state ID'd identification card, them assisting with Medicaid and substance abuse education and treatment program. And then also after completing those, if there is time for him to attend a vocational certification program. He will be released one day and he needs to grow while he's in, but he also needs to have all the tools available to him so he doesn't even have a chance to have the excuses, but this, but that, but this. So I think he needs the Department of Corrections time, but also want the recommendation of the programs that he could be available for, which could set him up for success when released after his incarceration.
Thank you very much, ma'am. We appreciate your comments.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Santoro, is there anything you'd like to say before the board votes?
Yes, sir. I know I've been given a chance. I'm so close to getting this birth certificate and this ID right now. I have a home to go home to. I have a job waiting on me. If I can get this birth certificate, which all I have to do is when I am released, I have to go to the school board, is the only paperwork that I'm missing right now. And I have to mail that to Vital Records. The paperwork should have been emailed to you guys and y'all should have been able to see it. Is proof that I am in process. I have a good home to go home to now. I'm not going to be worrying about where I'm going to lay my head now. I was using my mom's address. It's not ever been a good spot for me. I've never had this opportunity right here to be able to get my ID and my driver's license and go to work and stay out of the street, sir. But I have it now. If I have to go to, I have, like my girlfriend has a vehicle. We have a nice house. She's a nurse, I have the resources to get back and forth to AA meetings if I have to. I would like to be, if possible, if God spares, I would like to be given another opportunity. If I don't if I don't go to AA meetings, or if I don't attend classes you might recommend me to, then you can violate my parole. But like I've never 18 years of my life I've been in prison. I've never went in front of the judge and been like on probation. I went to Stephen Hall, but I did not know that, I didn't even know, sir, and I'm not trying to make an excuse, where an AA meeting would be located at. I've never had to go to that, so I mean, like, if I'm given the opportunity and told, where do I need to go, I will do whatever I have to do to handle it on my end, because I mean, I'm so close to getting this ID and I'll be able to go to work. I've never had a job before. Well, not a job that I can actually go cash a check or have a checking account. I've never had that. I don't know what it's like to pay a bill, but I have those opportunities now. I have a good woman at home. I have a good home to come home to, my own address that is mine. It's not for my mom or her husband. I have an address that is mine, and if God spares, just, all I'm asking is please, take it into consideration that I will go to AA, NA. I will go to meetings if I have to. I just didn't know that was an option. I didn't even know where to find meetings at. But I am in the process of getting my ID. I am working towards being a better person. I've never been given the opportunity to be able to do it. I cannot go to work. I have a 16-year-old son. I've never been to work, never had a job. Every time I go in front of the judge, I get years or better in prison. The last 18 years of my life, I haven't been on the streets but 1 year, and it's all because I go home to nowhere. I have an address, but I'm never going home to a place that I can actually call home. I'm never comfortable anywhere I go because it's drugs everywhere. I've been around that my whole life, but I'm actually like in a good position right now. I have a good woman. I have a home with an address, a clean home, on our own piece of property, our house. We have a vehicle.
Mr. Santoro, you're repeating yourself.
Okay, sir, I'm just nervous and I'm sorry. I'm nervous. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm hoping I get the opportunity to go home and make it better, sir. Like I'm going to work. I'm so close to getting my ID. And like, I just don't want it to get taken from me, because I want to be a better person, sir. I'm trying to be a better man. It's hard when you go home to know nothing. Every time I have an address, but it's not a home.
Thank you, Mr. Santoro. We've heard that at least 8 or 9 times.
Okay.
All right. Now ready to vote?
Yes.
Mr. Santoro. It's everybody's fault but yours. It's the birth certificate. It's you ain't got a home. You don't know where the meetings are. They didn't tell you what to do. If you want me to, I'll do AA meetings. If that's what you want me to do, that's what I'll do. You got to take responsibility for yourself. And until you do that, you're going to continue to do what you're doing. You are a very serious drug addict. You're still in denial. You've gone through one of the best programs in the country, and you're still sitting here in denial.
No, sir, I'm not trying to deny it.
Mr. Santoro, I've heard you a zillion times over 14 years of drug court. Okay? My vote today, you are a danger to society in the state that you are in. I agree with your parole officer. My vote today is to revoke you. I'm going to recommend that the department, if possible, send you to the facility that your parole officer suggested. That's the reentry program in Lafayette, so you can get some tools, etc. So that would be my recommendation is parole, is revocation. I'm just one of 3 votes. Mr. Roche?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Santoro, my vote is to revoke your supervision due to you pleading guilty to all violations.
Thank you, Ms. Roche. Ms. Ryan?
My vote is the same for the same reasons.
Mr. Santoro, your parole has been revoked. I hope you can take advantage of the programs that are in the Department of Corrections. You need some VOTEC training. And you also need some more substance abuse. You need to understand what the problem is. You need to do that. Nobody else can help you. It's just you. Good luck to you.